March did mark the 20th anniversary of the Iraq War. March 20th, to be exact. And a lot of the perpetrators of the Iraq War are still alive and kicking and flourishing and being treated very, very well. Obviously, you have Nicole Wallace with a nice cushy gig at MSNBC, David Frum, the editor-in-chief at The Atlantic magazine, and you also have John Bolton. He appeared on Times Radio to answer some questions, not only about the Russia-Ukraine war, but being that it is the 20th anniversary of the Iraq War, he was asked to comment on the war in Iraq, or at least reflect on the role that he played. Hey, do you have any regrets about the biggest foreign policy disaster in the history of this country? Let's hear what he has to say.
Let me just ask you, what is your judgment, Ambassador, on, first, the particular gain that you would identify for the world from the war in Iraq, and your greatest regrets?
Saddam Hussein is dead, and Iraq is not pursuing nuclear, chemical, or biological weapons.
Okay, well, they weren't pursuing nuclear, chemical, biological weapons before the war in Iraq, contrary to what you lying, mass-murdering psychopaths said. So I wouldn't really count that as a gain, but do go on.
People who say, well, the Middle East became more unstable. The Middle East became more unstable for lots of reasons, and an Iraq armed with nuclear weapons.
This guy should be a producer at the Kyle Kalinske show with all of this, with all this misrepresentation. Yeah, well,
the Middle East was unstable, and the West has had absolutely nothing to do with that.
Right. There were a lot of other illegal wars that we started over there that made it unstable.
And the British
wasn't just this
us.
one. Yeah, right. Exactly.
More unstable than what we see today. The biggest mistake made by the United States, and we made a number, there's no doubt about it. The biggest mistake, however, was Barack Obama's decision in 2011 to withdraw American forces.
The biggest mistake was trying to end the war. Okay, so the biggest gain was stopping Saddam from developing the weapons that he wasn't developing in the first place. And the biggest mistake was winding it down. So far, this answer is going about as badly as it could possibly go. It's like literally one of the worst answers to any political question in history. You could not be failing harder at answering this question. But it does get worse. You have anything to add before we go there?
Yeah, no, we absolutely should have continued to stick ourselves in the middle of an ancient religious feud that's been going on for over 1,000 years. Yeah, what's the downside? Where would the downside have been?
Well, it's worse than that, because you could argue Saddam Hussein, as awful as he was keeping the shit to shoe level when it came to the religious feud, right? The strongman dictator kept the peace. What do they say about the mafia, right? Violence doesn't break out in mafia-run neighborhoods. They keep the streets safe.
This applies in Russia as well. Like, this is how you got Putin. Like, could Russia have evolved into a functional democracy? Possibly. If there was that possibility, the way that we went in and raped their economy and tried to treat them like the redheaded stepchild and our junior partner, that absolutely put that off the table and made the rise of a figure like Putin inevitable. But Russia, what happened when you got rid of the Communist Party? It just got taken over by gangsters and oligarchs. So a country like that, regular order democracy is kind of hard to instill. When you set Goldman Sachs loose on the country, well, then you make it impossible.
All right, here we go. Let's see how Bolton's answer could get even worse. How could it get worse? Okay, biggest gain, starting the war and preventing a non-existent biological weapons program from becoming a threat. Biggest regret, Barack Obama shouldn't have ended the war when he did. What's his second biggest regret, I wonder?
Which did provide a bit of a ballast for the country of Iraq. And we found within 3 years, given the rise of ISIS, unpredicted by anybody, we had to go back in. All of this is counterfactual hypothesizing, but I believe had we stayed in Iraq, the situation would be much better. The second biggest mistake was not taking advantage of having a substantial American military position simultaneously in Afghanistan to Iran's east and Iraq to Iran's west to help the dissidents, help the opposition in Iran, and allow them to remove the Ayatollahs from power.
There you go. Second biggest mistake, not using the war in Iraq to provoke a war with Iran. There you have it. One of the worst, literally one of the worst answers you could possibly think to give.
Well, and this shows you the hollowness of the hashtag resistance. He was a hero to them. He was a hero. And when you look at what his views are, the reason he was anti-Trump are exactly the wrong reasons. They're all the reasons that you could make a case for Trump over goons like this. You're going to support people like this, and then you're going to turn around and say, what deep state?
Please clap.